Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Joyce, an account manager here at Kaboo, and I'm pleased to introduce Samuel Scott, the Director of Marketing and Communications for log management platform logs.io. Sam is based in Tel Aviv, and he's a global speaker and a contributor to both TechCrunch and Moz. Sam is here today to help us better understand how we can gain natural links using publicity campaigns. Make sure to stick around after the webinar for a quick Q&A, and please ask questions via the GoToWebinar interface throughout the webinar. And I'll be picking questions from there right at the end. We'll be recording this webinar and adding it to our Calc site with our show notes probably tomorrow, and we'll send out an email in the morning with the link to the post when that's live. And with that, I'll pass you over to Sam.
Joyce, thank you very much for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet all of you. I know we only have a limited amount of time, so I'll just dive right in. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit those, and I'll be glad to answer them as best as I can after the webinar. So, again, let's go to it. Just a very brief introduction about me because it's relevant. For those of you who don't know, before I was a marketer, I was a journalist and then a newspaper editor in America, in the States. So one thing I've found that is true in both journalism and in marketing is the importance of knowing how to tell a good story. When you're a journalist, if you tell a boring story, nobody will read you and you'll be fired. When you're a marketer, if you cannot tell a good story, then nobody will pay attention to your commercials, no reporter will want to cover you, and guess what? You'll be fired. So in the end, the most important thing that all of us can ever do in our careers is to learn how to tell a good story. And there are many different ways to do so. My goal here is to give you some insights into one way to do exactly that. Now, one way to tell a good story is to communicate a story to the media. And again, this is one thing that's called public relations and publicity. The most important thing to keep in mind is that PR and publicity are not the same thing. They're surely not just someone standing in front of a microphone and then speaking or giving a speech or answering talking points or even lying to the press and to the world. That's just one very, very small part of what we're talking about. PR is external communications. It is managing an organization's relationships with the external world. It might be managing a company's relationships with government agencies or the local community or online influencers or financial analysts on the stock market. Now, all of that is under the umbrella term of PR. That's not what I'm going to talk about here. Publicity is one of the 5 elements of the marketing promotion mix, and publicity is raising awareness of you, your product, your company, things of that nature. It's top of the funnel. It's the big picture. It's increasing brand awareness on a massive scale throughout your entire market. And one way to do that is by getting the press to cover you, getting the mass media to talk about you, so through that intermediary, the rest of the world will know about you. And hopefully that will include your target audience. And again, this is an overview of PR. Now, but why is publicity important? Everyone listening today, you've probably heard about inbound marketing, about SEO, about social media marketing, about content marketing. The most important thing to keep in mind is that there is a study here on Moz that came out just yesterday, actually, about where do most tech startups, for example, get their links. And this is a link to the Moz study here on the slide, and it turns out the #1 answer is publicity, which is called here PR. But I would go even further in this study. All of these links that are called blog links or editorial links, and all those PR links, all of those fall under the umbrella of publicity, which I define as getting the media, bloggers, and people in general to talk about you online. That is the best way that tech startups got links, and it's also the best way that, say, a B2C company gets links. Now, who remembers that dress from about a year and a half ago now, something like that? You know, was it white and gold or black and blue? What did we settle on? Black and blue, I think it was. Well, this is another study done by Moz. Again, this was about a month ago, maybe a month and a half. Now, do you see this orange line here at the left? That was the number of backlinks that were obtained on a weekly basis before that story went viral about the dress. Guess what? And then you see what happened. Everything to the right, those are how many backlinks the dress's manufacturer's website got after this massive amount of publicity and viral awareness and news coverage and social media. Look at all those backlinks. I mean, isn't this every SEO's dream? This is why. Sorry, let me back up for 1 second. Now here's a more down-to-earth example from when I was working at an agency before my in-house role. We had a very, very new company. It was a startup in health tech. So we had just started a publicity campaign, for over a couple of weeks, very laser focused, nothing too big, but it was just the beginning. And over this time period shown on this slide, we got roughly 42 links and went up to about 95. And these aren't directory links. These aren't, directly placed links in profiles. These are links as a result of publicity, a straight publicity campaign. And after getting those links through this specific period of time, look here in red. This one keyword we were targeting, and I can't tell you what the keyword was because of what the keyword entails. It's very private and proprietary. But for this highly valued keyword, the company's rankings during the publicity campaign, and we were getting all these links in this red box here, they went up during the campaign. Before and after the PR campaign, the rankings were down. Here's another example. This is a story I tell a lot. Again, if you're a very small local business, you might think to yourself, how can I do a publicity campaign? Say I'm a local pizza parlor. What can I do? Well, here's an example. This is a local small pizza place in Philadelphia in the United States. To make a long story short, this pizza parlor invited customers to pay it forward. Whenever they came in to buy a slice of pizza, they could say, oh, put a slice for me towards people in need. So they would charge, for paying $1 for a slice of pizza, they might say, add on $1 more, for a slice of pizza for somebody in need. And then what the pizza place would do is write on a Post-it note, 1 slice, and then put it on the wall. Anyone who is maybe homeless or hungry or otherwise in need, these people could come into the restaurant, go to the wall, and take a Post-it note off of the wall and say, can I get this one slice of pizza or this 2 slices of pizza? And this charity campaign, intentionally or not, it took off. Customers loved it because it was meaningful. They told their friends and family. Those friends and family members told their friends and family members. Word spread throughout Philadelphia, and the word eventually got to, of course, the local press, the bloggers, the major media outlets. He got local coverage, and then regional coverage, and then as you can see here, Ellen, I presume everyone listening knows who she is. The owner appeared on Ellen. And because of all this publicity, just look at those number of backlinks that came. Look on the right of that graph at the top. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of backlinks that are all highly authoritative, 100% natural, and just great links to have. These aren't BS directory links or whatever. Look at the lower left. Almost 18,000 Facebook followers at the time that I took the screenshot. I'm sure it's a lot more now. And some other benefits as well. Now he's opened his own store. He's selling merchandise, another revenue stream besides just selling pizza, all because of a creative publicity campaign. Now, I know it's really bad to read a quote when you're giving a presentation, but please just take a second and read this quote. Everett Sizemore is an associate of Moz. He knows what he's talking about, and he knew long before even I did the importance of publicity. And as you can see here, he and even I now, I would hire a publicist, a good publicist, over a link builder any day of the week because of all those results I have just showed you. In a nutshell, the best links for SEO purposes come as just a natural result of doing good marketing and good publicity. I cannot repeat this enough. Don't hire link builders. Don't hire spammers. Hire a good publicist, and you'll get the best results you can conceivably get as far as links, brand exposure and brand awareness. This is why publicity is one of the 5 traditional marketing strategies within the promotion mix that I described earlier. The others, just for reference, are direct marketing, sales promotion, advertising, and personal selling. Those comprise the traditional marketing and sales funnel, and some are top of the funnel, like publicity and advertising. Some are middle of the funnel and want to get a direct response as far as direct marketing, which is what email marketing is, and most online advertising is actually direct marketing, or sales catalogs is direct marketing, but I'm going on a tangent. If you want good links and you want to build brand awareness at the same time, hire a publicist. Do not hire a link builder. But of course, a good publicist can be expensive. So say you only have yourself. You're a one-person startup. You're a very small team. You can't hire a publicist. You want to do it yourself. Well, first I'll tell you good luck because it's really difficult, but it is possible to do it yourself as long as you can think creatively, and you can think like a journalist, and you can think about what do journalists really want to hear, because they don't want to hear about you. Listen, nobody cares about your product or your business. No journalist is going to want to help you just to make more money. That's not what they're there for. Journalists exist to tell stories to their audience, to tell their audiences what is newsworthy. So to get results in this capacity, you have to either tell a good story or think of something newsworthy. If you can do one or both of those two things, you'll get all these results. But that's how you have to think about if you want to do a publicity campaign for you or your product or your brand. Now, I could talk about this for 5 hours. I only have about 15 to 20 more minutes, maybe a little bit more. So just so you know, the last slide after the thank you, contact me with questions slide, the slide after that is going to be a list of resources, a bunch of articles and presentations that I have given on Moz at Brighton SEO and other places that go into a lot more detail on all of these points I'm going to cover only briefly. So here my goal is to give you the very, very brief summary of what a publicity campaign entails. For more, just click on the resources in the very, very final slide. Okay, that being said, here we go. First step, goal identification. What exactly do you want to do with a PR or publicity campaign? Do you want to get more VC funding? Do you want to get people to know that your product even exists? Do you want to position yourselves as an expert? Do you want people who hear about your brand to change how they feel about you? Do you want them to feel something completely new? There are so many different goals that a publicity campaign can achieve. You need to be very specific about what exactly you want to do. Now, once you have your goal in mind, it might be more product sales, more B2B leads. The next thing is to decide, well, who is my target market? I have a goal to get more downloads of my mobile app. Well, what kind of people would want to download my mobile app in the first place? It might be middle-aged mothers, it might be teenage boys, it might be senior citizens, it might be entrepreneurs, it might be digital marketers like all of us, it might be tech startup owners, it could be anyone. But who exactly, precisely, is going to want to buy your product or your service? You need to drill down and be as precise as possible to get the best results. You can't just say, people who are interested in marketing, that's who my agency is going to pitch to. That's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it at all. Be very specific. And now through all these resources here that I've given, you can drill down very specifically into what exactly your audience wants. You want to think about these people. What do they want in their lives? How much money do they make? What are their religious beliefs? Where do they live? What do they do for fun? How educated are they? The more information you have about your target audience, the more you can craft a message to the media that is read by that audience that will then appeal to that audience. You want to know as much as you can about them. Here are some more links about creating a persona. If the average of your audience, if you could encapsulate your entire audience into a single person who is standing in front of you and you're talking to him, what would he look like? Would he or she on average be 30 years old, a rich person with 2.6 kids living in the suburbs of London? I don't know. But just think to yourself, if you could do a mental image of what your audience, your persona would look like of your audience, that really helps you to focus on how you can communicate to that audience via the media, which is what we're trying to do here. Now, messaging and positioning. This is the next step in this, the overall theoretical process. Positioning is how we brand yourself overall. And the best way to do that is to think of two questions. What do you do differently than everyone else in your market? And what do you do that is new than everyone else in your market? I'm sorry, three questions. And what do you do better than everyone else in your market? How are you different? How are you new? And how are you better? Answer those three questions when you're contrasting yourself to your competitors. And if you can answer those three questions in a concrete, explicit, direct way, that is the nutshell, that is the start of a very good positioning for you or your company or your product. Next, the messaging is you'll take those nutshells of branding and then putting that into text. And usually what you do is something like this. These are examples from a client from years ago at an agency I used to work for. Don't tell them this is in my presentation. So basically, it's taking those initial ideas and crafting it into a paragraph. As you see here, it might be a couple lines for a Facebook profile. It might be a full paragraph that you put at the end of a press release that goes to the media. But the whole point is you want to take your overall branding and put it into messaging, and this messaging will appear everywhere. It should, because you want to unify your messaging. This messaging will be on your website, in your social outlets, everywhere. But for our purposes, this is going to be in your press releases and in the pitches that you send to the media, trying to get them to cover you and to get bloggers to write about you, and so on and so forth. Secondly, the one thing you want to keep in mind, one thing you can do when you're doing this is you can take your SEO keywords and incorporate that into your messaging. Very briefly, say your company wants to rank for London bookseller. What you can do is incorporate the phrase, Widgets Inc. is a London bookseller in your messaging so that it will appear everywhere in your website, on social media. And the goal is that when journalists write about you, they will say Widgets Inc. is a London bookseller who something, something, something. Because if you are published online with descriptive text that people are calling you a London bookseller and they keep repeating London bookseller, then that co-occurrence effect will help Google to rank you more highly for London bookseller. Again, use that as appropriate for your business and your industry. Second, media list creation. Okay, so you've got your audience, right? You know exactly to whom you're selling. The next question to answer is, well, what do they read? What newspapers do they read? What magazines do they read? What websites do they read? What blogs do they read? What industry newsletters do they read? Create a list of every media outlet that your audience reads. And you can rank it from the highest readership to the lowest, or something like that. But it doesn't end there. You want to focus. You can also order it based on sites that have the highest domain authority. Sites that have large social followings, if you want to get spread on social, and things like this. There are many considerations to take into effect, but you want to create a list. But you're not going to stop there. When you research these media outlets, you also want to research who is the most specific writer at that media outlet or on that blog. Because here's an example. When I was a journalist, I covered local politics in Boston. I had publicists, like me, I guess, sort of now, call me to pitch me stories about the Boston Red Sox. I love them. They're a baseball team. They're not what I cover. So even though I love this team, you're wasting my time. And every publicist who would email me or call me with a pitch about the Boston Red Sox, he would go on my blacklist because I don't freaking write about sports. Why are you doing this? Do some research. So you want to target not only the relevant outlets, you want to target the relevant reporters at those outlets. Like I said, I used to cover city politics in Boston. So anyone who would have a pitch or an idea or a leak, like I would get sometimes, about local politics, they would research my outlet, I hope, and then find me and go, oh, this is the best reporter that we should contact with our with our pitch. And then they would contact me, and then I would love it because it was relevant. It wasn't a waste of my time. So make a list of the most relevant outlets and the most relevant writers and bloggers at those outlets. Excuse me. And here are some tools to do it. Cision is one of the major PR softwares out there. There's also Meltwater and Vocus and some others. You can do a Google search, obviously, and check them out for yourselves. They all come with free trials most of the time. And just for example, one tool you can use is you can do a search for contacts in a location and in a given industry, like this. And what you'll see is that it'll give you a list, an exportable list of all of the reporters and bloggers in a location that cover a certain topic, and you can export that list, obviously, as well. And I've blocked out some of the contact information here because I don't think they'd really want me to show that to all of you. Now, press release creation. You've got your target audience, you've got your positioning, you've got your media outlets, you've got your list of the best writers at those outlets, to pitch. What do you do next? Well, obviously, you want to create a press release and a pitch. Create a press release, you might be announcing some newsworthy topic, you might be announcing charity work you're doing, something newsworthy. And then a pitch is what you send to a reporter to try and get them to write about you. A pitch might be like literally a 3-line email, because reporters don't have time to waste, summarizing your press release. Send them a 3-line email and saying, this is what we have for you. Are you interested? If you are, let us know. I'll send you all the information in a press release. This is how it works. Now, when you pitch a reporter with, again, you get maybe 3 lines tops to convince them that you're relevant and you're important enough, because reporters get 500 emails a day. So what do? 1, you need to realize what makes whatever you're pitching, you, your company, your product, what makes you newsworthy right now. A reporter will not write about you, usually, unless there is something that makes you timely, because news is all about timeliness. So what is going on in the world, in the news, in your geographical location that is relevant to you and your product? Maybe some big company somewhere just had a huge problem, cost them $1 billion, and your product actually happens to solve such a problem. That's newsworthy. That's timely. A reporter would be interested. There are many examples I could give. Let's see, what other questions? Okay, so what is newsworthy? Actually, that's the most important one to answer, actually. Now, and the other one is, what problem do you solve? I'm sorry. So if you're in more of a general B2C or B2B industry, the best way to get news coverage is to find something newsworthy. The second thing that goes in my head right now is more for tech startups. Maybe some of those are listening right now. The most important question to answer in a pitch, if you're a tech startup, for example, is, what problem do you solve? Because publications like TechCrunch, where I contribute, but I can't speak for them, only for myself, is publications like TechCrunch or Wired, all the, tech.eu, all these publications, they love startups and technologies and, disruptive whatever, that all want to solve a problem. If you're a startup that can solve a problem and no one else is trying to solve this problem or they're doing it poorly, that's a great way to get coverage. What problem do you solve? Now here's a direct example of a pitch that covers those examples I just gave. At where I work, we officially launched our product in, October, November, something like this, and it's a log management platform. People can use it for server log analysis, to analyze their server log files for technical SEO. Sysadmins and site administrators can use our log analysis software, for example, to, analyze their infrastructure and their systems, and their and devs can look at their, dev performance, whatever. It doesn't matter. So we've got this really complicated technical product, and I wanted to pitch the Wall Street Journal. So what did I do? I saw that Amazon Web Services, if you don't know, they're a cloud platform that you can use to host your infrastructure on their servers. That's what the cloud is, essentially. They went down about a week before we launched, and it cost them a lot of money. And I realized, wait, our product is for system administrators and sysadmins, people who manage infrastructure, and so they can use our product to prevent systems from crashing, to before ding, 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 I've got an idea. So I pitched the Wall Street Journal and said, look, this problem Amazon had? our example of a really new product that can fix that. It can solve a problem and save the whole world so much money and so much time and so much hassle, and we're new ways to do this because they're predicted cloud-based and all these buzzwords. We actually do it. We have to include these buzzwords sometimes, but not too much. Okay, whatever. Story short. A very short Wall Street Journal received down below. Two-word response, or three-word response, because reporters are getting time. Sure, show me what you have. So I got a response, and then I sent her the full package, all within the text of a single email, the full text, the full press release, an FAQ document, and all of this, the full package, sent it to her. And look at the coverage in the sister publication of the Wall Street Journal. And this is only one example. I don't want to go through all this because my point here isn't to highlight what I've done, it's to show you how to do the same thing for yourselves. This is just one example of the coverage I got from this whole process. We got a lot of coverage too in other places. I don't really go into that because I know no one cares. But the whole point is that you can emulate this exact same process because this is the traditional publicity process that has been honed, and I'm not exaggerating, for 100 years since the internet, since before the internet even existed. Here's a news flash, and the internet really didn't change marketing. I get a lot of flack when I say things like this, but it's true because the entire marketing communications process has always been the creation of a message, the placement of that message into a piece of content, the transmission of that piece of content over a communications channel to an audience. That is Marcom theory. And it is still true today. The only difference is that the internet is a new set of communications channels. I'm doing the exact same publicity process that Madman did, I forget his name off the top of my head, did in the 1950s in America. I'm doing the same process that publicists did in the 1920s when it was invented. The only difference is I'm using new channels to do it. I'm using email to communicate with reporters instead of the phone or letters. I'm using social media to contact reporters. I'm using social media to spread the word about what we're doing or about coverage to the masses of the world. It's the exact same thing, but the channels have changed, but the exact same principles remain. And my goal here was to introduce you to the overall principles of publicity. If you have any questions, you can see all my contact information here. Follow me on Twitter, send me a tweet. You can find a lot more at my website. You can click here for the link to this exact presentation. But listen, these resources are much more valuable. Altogether, these 4 resources here probably clock in at about 30,000 words of what I've written all about publicity campaigns. What I've said to you is only the beginning. It's maybe 500 words. So if you want to learn a lot more about all of what I've said, go to all of these links here on Moz and about Brighton SEO, my presentation there, and I go into a lot more detail. Sit down with a cup of coffee, maybe 10, go read through all of these, and you'll get a lot more detail about everything I have described here. And I've hit a half an hour, so I believe we're going to open up for Q&A in a few minutes. So again, feel free to submit your questions. I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. If I don't have an answer for you, I will tell you that because I don't like to BS. If I don't know something, I will tell you, and feel free to email me privately or send me a tweet, and I will find the answer for you, and I will get back to you. I always like to help whenever I can. So that being said, I guess I will open the floor, Joyce. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Sam. That was really interesting. I particularly really liked that Rosa's fresh pizza story. I love that anecdote. I think that's a great.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a way to do marketing and to help the world at the same time, which you can't beat that.
Absolutely. And before we launch into our Q&As, I just want to remind everyone that we have recorded this webinar. We'll see if we can fix that small static issue that we had. Apologies about that. And I'll be posting it on our Calc website soon, and we can rewatch it with our show notes. And please send us through your questions and we'll answer them. I've got one here for you, Sam. Can you give specific examples of how to get reporters' interest?
Sure. That's a very good question. One way, and I feel bad saying this because I used to be a reporter, and sometimes when I write for other marketing publications, I write about the marketing industry in an objective reporter way, so half my brain is still a reporter at heart, brain and heart, go figure. But I will tell you the truth. Stalk, stalk, stalk reporters. Because it's so easy today. It's so easy. Like I said, when you're starting to do a media list and you have the publications that you want to appear in, no, I'm sorry, the publications in which you want to appear, okay, that's your first step. The second step is to research, again, which bloggers, which reporters, specifically at those publications, do you want to pitch? Which specific reporters would be most likely to want to write about you, based on what they've written about in the past or whatever. So here are some things. You can find social media profiles of the reporters. Find their Facebook profiles. Again, even though reporters tend to be a smart bunch, a lot of times they haven't set their Facebook profiles to private. So you can find out a lot about them. What music they like, what bands they like, what TV shows they like. This is on a personal level. I'll tell you something a little bit embarrassing, but I don't mind. One of my favorite TV shows is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And sometimes when people pitch me to write about stuff on TechCrunch or Moz or on my own blog, and when someone mentions Buffy when in a pitch to me in relation to what they want to pitch, I know they bothered to do their research. I'll actually pay attention. I will give their pitch more of the time of day rather than just go delete, 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 because I know that they're actually doing some personal outreach. They actually took the time to research me. So, I will give them time in response. They didn't just send a BCC email to 500 writers and include me on the list. They actually wanted to reach out to me directly. It made me feel special. So, it made me give them more time. So again, first stalk reporters on social media, find out everything you can about them. Read their personal blogs, read what they write about in their professional lives. Take the tech example. In my industry now, you might find that you might want to be in Wired, you might want to be in TechCrunch, you might want to be somewhere else, PC World. But you see, these are just all tech publications, but they all cover different things. One reporter at Wired might cover the cloud. Ooh. Another reporter at Wired might cover system administration. One reporter might cover coding and programming, things like this. So you want to be very, very specific as far as researching what reporters want to cover.
That's perfect.
Sorry?
I agree with you. I think that's the perfect answer.
Oh, thank you. Let's see what else. Researching them personally, researching them professionally. Oh yeah, and Twitter. Here's one thing too. Reporters either like to get tweets or they hate to get tweets. And if you do it the wrong way, you can get blacklisted. I was pitching a story to the New York Times once, and I sent him a tweet because I saw he had an active Twitter. I said, hey, we're writing a story on this. Interested in learning more? 140 characters. He sent me a tweet back saying, don't tweet me, I hate it. And I'm like, dude, you're active on Twitter, So I kind of felt bad, but here's the key. Most reporters will be responsible, and they will say in their Twitter bios, do not tweet me pitches. So you want to research your reporters to find out not only what they like personally and what they want to write about, you also want to research how do they want to get pitches. Some reporters like Twitter. Some hate Twitter. Some will say, some even on Twitter will say, email me here instead, don't tweet me. Some will say, just tweet me, I don't want emails. I get too many emails. So again, research how they want to be pitched as well.
That leads really nicely on to Orly's question here. How much do reporters rely on individuals giving them ideas for stories like you described?
That's a very, very good question, and the answer is a lot more than when I was a reporter. When I was a reporter, I wrote stories on dead tree paper, and almost everything I wrote about was either mandated by my editor, or it was something I came up with on my own. But here's the secret, back in the days of dead trees. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean. There was only a limited amount of space on which publications could write. So they might say write 500 words and no more. But now the thing is, because we have almost an infinite amount of space on computer servers, websites can publish an infinite amount of number of articles. So what this means is, it also goes into the economics of journalism today, which I won't go into. It's a whole other topic. But for this reason, reporters and bloggers are under so much pressure to write every single day for many different reasons. So they need more ideas all the time. So they actually welcome, usually welcome pitches as long as they're relevant to them, they're not spam, and they're done in a respectful and helpful way. Reporters like pitches because they need these ideas. It doesn't mean they're going to write about you. It doesn't mean they're going to pick your idea. They usually won't, because they get 50 pitches a day minimum. But the thing is, they like the pitches. And even though they won't pick you all the time, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. So just always try, because you will see some results. If you can get 5%, if you pitch 100 reporters and 5 of them write about you in major publications, that's a big freaking success. 5% sounds like a small number, but it's good for all these reasons. So keep pitching. Reporters love it as long as you do it in the right way, in the way I just described.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Sam. That was great. And I hope to see everybody soon at our upcoming webinars, and we'll get this up and live on the Calc site soon.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, and thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'd love to be in touch.